Hello everyone, welcome to the second monthly webinar of this year. My name is Asit and I am the host and panelist for this webinar. First of all, I hope all of you are doing well amid the pandemic. And let's ensure that the housekeeping checklist is all set. For best audio experience, make sure that you are connected on computer audio. If you still cannot hear us, please check your system volume settings and ensure that you have selected the correct audio devices. For any questions during the webinar, you can type in your questions in the point number 2 as highlighted over here. This will be a recorded webinar and the recordings of this webinar will be shared shortly after the webinar. And I'm Asit, the host and panelist. I have with me on this webinar Crystal, who is also a panelist, and she will be talking about service graph, some of the latest features, improvements, and a lot of exciting features. So without further ado, let's get started. So this is the agenda for this month's webinar. So we'll start off as usual with an overview of Adm Service, and then I will talk about a recent tool which we have launched which can help customers migrate from Adm on-prem to the service. So I'll talk about how the tool works, the scope of the tool, and I will take you through a video which will illustrate the exact steps of migration. And then Crystal will take over, will talk about service graph, and she will speak about top talkers with the grid view, edge thickness, and node overlay. So before getting started, let me tell you how you can quickly jumpstart to Adm service in 3 quick steps, and it is very easy. Yes, can all of you confirm if you can hear us? We are both on audio as well as the screen is being shared. Can some more people?
But I cannot see the slides on my side.
Yes, many people can hear. Crystal, can you see my slides?
No,
Yeah,
I
think
cannot.
You cannot. Most people can see the screen though. I think there is some specific people are facing issues. Let's continue because I see most of you are able to hear and see the slide as well. So it's a 3-step process to get started on Adm service. First of all, you will have to create an account in Citrix Cloud. Most of you might be already having an account in Citrix Cloud, in which case you just have to sign in with your Citrix Cloud credentials. And the next step is the agent deployment state. Here you get a couple of options. You can deploy an agent on the hypervisor or in public cloud or as a microservice, and then you can deploy an agent which is packaged within the ADC, and this is available on ADC versions 12.0, 56.20 onwards. So built-in agent is the agent which is available within your ADC, and it's the fastest method to get started on Adm service. And we recommend this method if you want to quickly get onboarded on Adm service. And once having selected the built-in agent as the agent deployment mode, you'll have to log into your ADC, navigate to a specific folder and call a script, and the script will prompt you for admin credentials as well as the service URL and the activation code. Make sure to copy the service URL and the activation code from your Citrix ADM service account. And that's it. Once you pass these parameters to your script, your ADC from which you have called the script will be automatically onboarded to your Adm service. And we have a short video also on this, so I will share the link to the video as well on the chat window. Now let's understand some of the advantages of why Adm service. So it's a cloud-based offering of Adm, therefore it has some inherent advantages which it brings with itself. First of all, it is very easy to operate. We saw how easy it is to quickly get started. You get the latest features or releases happening once in 2 weeks versus Adm on-prem where the feature releases happen once in 6 weeks. Plus you will have to, in Adm on-prem, you will have to download the latest image and upgrade. So all these things are eliminated with Adm service. And you don't have to manage your Adm deployment, no hassle of managing HA, DR or database of your Adm account. All that is automatically taken care by the cloud solution. And then faster time to value, you get started with few clicks. There is no procurement involved if you have to explore Adm service, because we have something called Adm Service Express tier, which is a freemium tier on which you can explore the whole solution and for as long as you want. There are certain limitations with expressed here, but those are in terms of how much analytics you get or how much config jobs you're able to run. I will talk about that in my subsequent slides. But yeah, you can always get started without going through the procurement hassles, and you can explore the solution. And then we have exclusive ML based use cases, which are very exclusive to Adm Service and available only on Adm Service. Plus we have other differentiating use cases on analytics, app analytics and usage, which are only available on Adm Service. And we have certain specific integrations points also coming up, which are only available on Adm Service. Lower operating expense, because you do not really invest many resources in managing your Adm environment, and no hassles of managing the VMs, cost of VMs. So that brings down your operating expense. And it can support any kind of a deployment, however complex it is. Your ADCs might be on public cloud or on-prem or a combination of both. And your applications could be a legacy monolithic application or a modern day microservices based application. And in fact, we have beefed up our offering around microservices with the service graph, which Crystal will talk in some details. Now let's see what is the Adm service feature advantage and why you should choose Adm service. So as we can see, there are clearly differentiating features on Adm service. So let me talk a bit about each of this feature. The first feature is server response time anomaly. Imagine there is a large deployment where there are multiple hundreds of servers involved. It is very cumbersome to know what is the baseline response time of each server and then highlight any kind of anomalous server response time. And without ML based algorithm, you would have to maybe manually create baseline for each of the server, threshold different limits for each of the server, and then monitor. This becomes really cumbersome and not possible, humanly possible. So that's why we have ML algorithms running here, which tries to understand the patterns of response time each of the server, draws baseline and highlights any kind of anomalous server response time for each of the server. The second indicators are around the CPU and memory prediction of your ADC instances, which helps you to keep aware of your CPU and memory usage if it is going to increase in the next 24 hours. So the model learns on 7 days of data and tries to predict your CPU and memory usage for next 24 hours, so that you can take any kind of interventions if you want to reduce your CPU and memory consumption. And this around CPU consumption of your ADC instances, we have taken it a notch higher with app CPU analytics. So what happens is most of the vendors and most of the competition, if you see in the market, they give CPU usage of the ADC instances, but very few, I think nobody is doing this today, wherein your app CPU usage is also available, wherein multiple applications, if they are deployed on one ADC instances, you can know exactly which application is consuming more CPU, and you can get notified of those applications. Similarly, around app peak usage, it helps to clearly bring up peak usage of your applications around metrics of request per second throughput and data volume. And this is very helpful when you want to understand how many times your app peak usage is getting breached, and what does your peak usage of your application look like, so that you can put appropriate rate limiting, or for certain customers who charge their end users based on the peak usage of the application. Similarly, app lean usage is very useful when you want to take the downtime of your or maintenance of your application. It clearly brings up top 5 lean usage periods of your application in slots of 1 hour, 2 hour and 4 hours, and you can clearly understand which are the top 5 lean periods, and you may choose to take your app for a downtime or a maintenance using in those lean usage periods. ML based indicators around app security, we have been adding more and more indicators with every release. So we have a lot of indicators around anomalous download volume, anomalous upload volume, account takeover, and lot more. Rahul, my colleague, had spoken about ML based app security indicators in the previous webinars as well, and we'll try to include more content on this and deep dive into this in subsequent webinars. App usage analytics is something which has been recently introduced. It uses machine learning to highlight anomalous usage of your application. Let's say there's a sudden surge in request per second, a sudden surge in data volume throughput. It highlights those anomalies. So this clearly brings up how many times your how your app usage usage is varying, what are the patterns of the app usage, how many times those anomalies are happening, so that you can accordingly take a call whether you want to move these kind of workloads to a public cloud or take advantage of auto scaling feature in Citrix ADC, and maybe also take advantage of something like pool licensing, which gives you flexibility of allocating and deallocating licenses to ADC instances. SSL cert issue and renewal, this is almost on the verge of getting released. So we have integrated with Venafi ecosystem, wherein customers who have Venafi TPP server, they'll be able to leverage issuing and renewal of SSL certificates for their applications by making a call to the, so internally it makes a call to the Venafi TPP server, gets a certificate issued and installs it on the ADC. You can also set it up for automated renewals as well. So this is a feature which is only available on Adm Service. So it completely eliminates the task of the app owner who can totally automate their certificate issue and renewal process if they have a Venafi TPP server. Smart deployment of ADC in AWS, again, it helps to deploy in very quick steps ADC instances in AWS. It's like a quick way of deploying ADC in AWS. Let's understand what is a Adm Service Express tier. So it's a freemium version which is available, and as part of Express tier you get two virtual servers for your analytics, network functions and network reporting, two config jobs and two stylebook config packs. There is a data retention limit of 500 MB or 1 day of data, whichever is lesser. Having said that, there is no time limit when you are on Express tier to explore the solution. You can take as long as you want to explore the solution, and after you have explored the solution for a good amount of time, and should you make a decision to explore the full capabilities, you can expand to ADM advanced licenses for full set of capabilities, wherein you get complete analytics for by licensing your virtual servers for SDX and gateway insights for any kind of gateway related and SDX traffic related insights, web and SSL insights, security insights, where you can understand more around your WAF violations, bot violations and those kind of things. And then on ADM advanced licenses you get separate storage queue, wherein let's say your storage requirements exceed the default storage which is available, you can buy additional storage queues, and you get half a GB of storage for every VIP license. Let's say you buy 100 VIPs license, you get 50 GB of storage by default with it, and you get unlimited management and monitoring automation capabilities. You are not limited by number of config jobs or number of stylebook config packs. With that, let's understand how does this tool work and how it will help you to migrate from ADM on-prem to ADM service. Some of these benefits I've already spoken. I'll quickly skim through and touch upon each of these use cases. Lesser tissue, as we already spoke, no VMs, no HADR, DB upgrades management that for when you migrate to ADM service. Easy to set up with express licensing, faster onboarding in 3 steps. Exclusive analytics and ML based use cases, faster release cycles in approximately 2 weeks. Global points of presence, this I want to touch upon. Today we have 11 points of presence across 3 regions. We have more than 6 points of presence in US, and then 2 points of presence in EMEA and 2 in APJ, and we are adding more to this list across the different quarters and years. So we are continuously expanding in terms of our points of presence. Coming to scale, since this is a cloud-based solution, we are almost not limited by any kind of scale when you talk about storage. And hybrid licensing rights. If you have bought ADM licenses in 2019 under hybrid licensing rights, let's say you have bought 100 VIPs, then equivalent number of VIPs would be already existing in your ADM service account. So when you migrate from ADM on-prem to ADM service, the number of licenses that you have bought is already present and is already safeguarded under your ADM service account. Now let's understand some of the prerequisites of the migration tool. So this migration tool, in order for it to work, you'll have to ensure that you have an account in Citrix Cloud. You have completed the sign up process of Citrix Cloud. You have an account in ADM Service, and then you need at least one agent configured on ADM Service account, because ADM Service internally uses an agent to communicate with the ADC and get the appropriate data. Similarly, ADM on-prem should have internet reachability, because the agent it tries to migrate the configuration from ADM on-prem setup to the service setup. Therefore, the ADM on-prem should be reachable over internet. Pool licensing, the licenses that you have hosted on an ADM on-prem account, they need to be rehosted on ADM service. And there are certain specific versions of ADC which are supported with the migration tool. Talking about ADC version for 13.0 from build 47.24 onwards, similarly on 12.1 58.14 onwards, and things like that. Similarly on SDX we have support for 13.0 74.11 onwards. Adm service has at least this is a good to have feature. You must ensure that you have at least same number of licenses as on Adm on-prem. Should you have lesser number of licenses, then vServers will be randomly licensed. Now let's see the steps to migrate from Adm on-prem to Adm service. As we see, first step is to create an account in Citrix Cloud and Adm service. Then you need to configure an agent in Adm service. Third step is you need to download the client secret CSV from your Adm service account. Fourth step is all the validation. Ensure that you have rehosted your pool licenses on Adm service. Ensure that you have adequate number of licenses on Adm service, and then run the script. These are the 5 steps that you need to do in order to migrate your Adm on-prem configuration to Adm service. And then the script is very detailed. It has error messages. It continuously prompts you for inputs, shows you the configuration that is being migrated. We'll see that in as part of the video. So this is the scope of the tool in terms of ADM features. All ADC inventory related features, instances, tags, instance group, profiles will be migrated. Talking about config jobs, stylebook, config packs, and templates, any kind of audit templates, polling intervals will be migrated. And analytics and app dashboard, all custom apps that you have created will be migrated. Analytics settings and thresholds will be migrated. App flow configuration. However, any kind of data which is existing on your ADM on-prem will not be migrated, and historical data will be available on your ADM on-prem setup, and newer data ingestion will happen on ADM service after you have migrated. Settings with respect to sites, IP blocks that you have created, network reporting, notification settings, data prune settings, all those will be migrated to ADM service. In terms of events, any kind of custom event rules that you have created and event settings that you have done will be migrated. RBAC, we have roles, policies, groups will be migrated. Users will not be migrated. ADM licensing, vServer selections will automatically happen. ADC config changes, all SNMP, syslog, pool licensing, analytics, app flow configuration will be migrated. And ADC registration will move from ADM on-prem to ADM service, and the tool will show failures and success of migration of features with detailed logs. And in terms of time to migrate, it takes from few minutes to few hours depending on how many ADC instances you have in your on-prem setup, number of event rules, number of sites, all these features basically what we show. Depending on how expansive and how many features you have created under each of these category, it takes a few hours to migrate. Out of scope, as we told, RBAC user migration, because this is handled through Citrix Cloud, this will not be handled. Pool licenses need to be rehosted on your ADM service account. SSL certs and keys that you upload to your ADM on-prem setup, those will not be migrated. However, any SSL certs and keys installed on the ADC will automatically be discovered as part of the pool. Export schedules created, those will also not be migrated. Steps to migrate to ADM service: download the client secret file from Citrix Cloud, copy it to a var directory of your ADM on-prem, and then you need to download the script. The script is part of the ADM build from 13.076.x onwards, and for other 13.0 versions, which is 13.0 versions which are lesser than 13.076.x, the script can be downloaded from this path. And for ADM on-prem which are not on 13.0, let's say it is on 12.1 or 12.0, you need to upgrade to 13.0 to leverage the migration tool. Navigation to script location: the script is available in 13.076.s under mps/mps/scripts folder, and here you'll have to call this service migration tool Python script and pass it the location of your client secret CSV. That's when the create script is initiated, and it starts migrating the configuration from your ADM on-prem setup. Now let's look at some of the migration promotions we have. So 30 WIPs for customers who successfully migrate to ADM service in 2021. We are doing a hands-on workshop for our customers, and yeah, you can register for this workshop. I'll paste the link of the workshop in the chat window shortly. And then on ADM on-prem GUI notification, which is on 13.076.x, there's a notification which is available on the ADM on-prem setup. Now let's look at some of the FAQs. Which version of ADM is eligible? So all 13.0 versions are eligible. With 13.76.x script is packaged. Other versions of 13.0 you need to download from the shared location. Other than 13.0, like versions like 12.1, 12.0 and lower versions need to upgrade to ADM 13.0. Exclusions, we already talked about exclusions, RBAC users, pool licensing, ADC backups, SSL certs and keys on the ADM, and export schedules. Historical data will continue to exist on ADM on-prem, newer data on Adm Service. Log file is generated in var mps log directory, and you can check more with the detailed logs. So if Adm Service has lesser licenses, then your vServers will be randomly licensed. So before you migrate, if you want to avoid this, ensure that you have at least the same number of licenses as Adm on-prem. And what happens to your ADM on-prem licenses? So you have, if you have bought in 2019 under hybrid licenses, you'll have equivalent licenses available under your service account. As per EULA, customers are supposed to use their analytics licenses either on-prem or on service. Is ADM Service secure? Yes, we use state-of-the-art data storage retention and management methodologies, and more details about it can be found in our data governance doc, and where we clearly articulate what data we capture so that customers can choose to enable and disable certain services and remain GDPR compliant. And I have a short video that I will play. So as we can see, we have logged into our ADM service account. I'm clicking on the FDA application delivery management tile. And then I see there has been an agent which has been deployed. At least one agent is required for a smooth migration of configuration from ADM on-prem and ADM service. So here we have one agent which is deployed. And then I'm checking if we have adequate licenses in the ADM service account. So here we have more than enough. We have around 20K vServers already present. And then I'm ensuring that the pool licenses are rehosted. Whatever licenses we had on our ADM on-prem setup, all that rehosting is done on ADM service. And then I will log in to ADM service and download the client's secret CSV file. I go to identity and access management, click on API access. Here I will give a name of the client secret CSV. Let's call it test3, create client, and then it will prompt me to download the client secret CSV. I click on the download CSV, and this is what I will copy to my wire folder of my ADM on-prem. I log into my ADM on-prem setup. So this is on 13.76.x. So there is already a script available. So what we'll do, we'll just log into our ADM on-prem setup and migrate to the path of the scripts folder. You can see the FTU message on the 13.76.x where we are talking about how you can migrate to ADM service, and then it points to the docs link. I'm logging to the ADM on-prem setup. Just migrate to the MPS scripts folder. So this is the location of the client secret CSV. It is under the var folder. And then we'll check the version of ADM on-prem. And then we navigate to the path of the scripts folder and then run the script and pass the location of the client secret CSV to it. So it will show messages, informative messages, as it tries to get the details. Shows the FQDN of the ADM service, IP of the ADM on-prem, and then we show how many agents are there on ADM service and how many licenses are there on ADM on-prem and ADM service. So as we can see here, Citrix ADM service is deployed with a single agent that we are highlighting. And then number of VIP licenses on ADM service are 2, while number of licenses on ADM on-prem are 5. And then it gives the messages that all the vServers licensed in ADM on-prem will not be licenses. because there are lesser licenses available in ADM service, so vServers will be licensed randomly, and it is asking for the user input if you want to continue. Just so I give a message of Y for yes, and then it shows which are the supported SDXs and ADCs for the pool licensing. As we saw earlier, there are specific versions of SDX and ADCs which are supported for pool license server change, and that it is giving information, and it is asking if you want to change the license server of the pool ADCs and SDXs. So you press Y for yes, then the migration starts. So it will show which vServers are licensed in ADM on-prem, and then it will show the details of agents, and slowly it will transfer one. So in first step, it is transferring the ADC profile, then it is migrating the ADC instances. It will show failure messages wherever appropriate. Like here, we get a failure message that the so first of all, let's see the different success message. So what ADC configuration is getting migrated. And then we will see the failure messages as well. So here we see that device with IP address already exists. So if the device is already added to ATM service, it will not migrate the device again. Similarly, if over here it is showing that there is a site which is already existing with the same name, site A, so that's why it is not migrating the site. So these are the broad steps of migrating to the ADM service account, and I hope you find this tool useful. We have few poll questions here, so you get approximately 30 seconds to participate in the poll questions. To let us know if you find the migration tool useful. So it looks like most of you have already found the migration tool useful. Um, so thanks for that. And then we have few poll questions wherein we want to understand about your concerns in terms of migrating to ADM service. You can choose multiple answers, and if you have any other concern, then you can type that in the chat window as well. We're done with the second poll. Now the third poll is to understand, as I already spoke, we are doing the Venafi integration, wherein you, so Venafi, let me speak a little bit about Venafi. It's like an aggregator of multiple CS. They have out of the box integration with 40 plus CS. So customers who have Venafi, they will be able to leverage issuing and renewing certificates from each of those 40 plus years. And they have the major players like be it Microsoft, DigiCert, GoDaddy, Komodo, everything is there on the Venafi marketplace. In addition to that, I would want to understand how many of you use other CS. So if you don't have Venafi, you can choose what other CS you have. If you have Venafi, you can just choose Venafi. You can choose multiple options also here. And if your option is not listed here, you can type that in the chat window as well. So we'll give a minute for this poll. Thanks for responding to the poll questions. We'll now hear from Crystal some of the recent improvements in service graph. So I'll pass on the control to Crystal. Over to you, Crystal.
Thank you, Asit. So let me make sure I share my screen. Just 1 second. Can you confirm if you can see my screen?
Not yet. I can't still see. Yeah, now I can see. Please go ahead.
Okay, great. So hi, everyone. My name is Crystal, and I'm a product manager in application delivery and security team, specifically from the modern app cloud native team. So in this webinar for the next 15 minutes or so, I'm going to walk you through the latest features that we brought into the service graph on Adm Service. So I will first do a quick recap for whom may not be very familiar with the service graph. And then I will dive into those key new features and the enhancements that we've done last quarter, which includes a view of for top talkers, dynamic edge thickness, and service node overlay. And I will also show you how it works in the demo setting, so you can see that in action. So let's get started here. Yeah, so service graph is really part of Adm Service. It is designed to monitor and troubleshoot applications and services. So service graph can automatically discover and map out the interdependency and relationship of the service, as long as the Citrix ADC is in the communication path. So it's more than just a graphical product. It gives you an at a glance view of the health status of your service running in your system, with all these color-coded nodes and edges indicating whether there's issue observed or detected. And you can always drill down more from each of the node and the edge. So we provided different types of drill down at the per service level. So you can see we provide 3 pillars of observability, which includes metrics, logs, and distributed tracing in one place. For the key metrics, we keep track of number of hits, response time, both average P99 and also P99.9. Error counts, data volume for each service with that defined time bound, and you can customize that time bound. We enabled anomaly detection in last product iteration. So now, instead of, you set up a policy, say, when the error hits to a certain level, or the response time is exceeding, let's say, 40 milliseconds, now we automatically detect outliers for any given key metrics, and we highlight them for you with showing, hey, what's the normal range and what's the spike or dip. So normal range is shown with this blue ribbon. So lastly, we can also capture end-to-end distributed tracing and indicate, when you receive a ticket from the customer complaining the service is slow, we can now give you a view of like this end-to-end call flow, and give you the span for different contributors, so that what is the service that contributes the most to the slowness. So that's a big picture of the service graph. Now let's dig into the new enhancement. So when you're dealing with tens or hundreds or even thousands of services all together in your system, you will want to be, make sure you put your very precious attention on those, make the most impact to your customer experience. So Top Talkers gives you this holistic understanding of what are the hot services, in your system. So it includes, so we provide this grid view as part of the service graph. We have included the columns such as, status, hits, whatever you see in that toolkit, response time errors, and many more. And you can also pick and choose the ones that you're interested. And I'll show that in the demo shortly. Then for each service, we use the spark lines, as you see here, to give you a trending view during that given time period. So you can easily eyeball on those which has, dramatic changes. And like what we implemented across the board for the ADM service, we track changes for each metric to give an idea how much of the change compared to previous period. And all the fields here are sortable in either ascending or descending order, while the default view was kept by the hits numbers from the most to the least. Lastly, we implemented the view with the two tabs, service and service to service. So what does it mean? Services really mean, that we have that targeted service, which can have one or multiple upstream service. It doesn't really care about the source request, where the service to service always comes in pair, with source and destination service. And I'll also show that in the demo. So in the future, we will be implementing more intelligence around top talkers. For example, if one of the top 3 services drop out to top 20, top 30, then there might be some issues there. So we will recognize that and send an alert to the user. Similarly, if some service out of 50 ranking 50, and all of a sudden they jump into the first 5, we will also recognize that and send an alert. So that could bubble up unpredictable unknowns in your system, so that you can always proactively looking into the cause of it before the impact really reaches to the customer. And if you have any requirements, feedback, thoughts, comments, you can send us your requirements there, and we're happy to. So the next one is very straightforward. So basically, we always want to give the user the most out of the service graph, not only the richness of the data, but also through the visualization. So now we implemented this dynamic edge thickness to indicate the number of hits proportionally, number, the traffic volume. So the greater or more the edge width thickness indicates the number of hits is higher. So in this example, we can clearly tell requests to TV shows is more than those to movies from the front end in the past 1 week. So based on this kind of insights, you can optimize your system, or to be prepared for the links that can soon be saturated. So lastly, last but not least, we overlaid icons to the problem service to give an intuitive view to tell one, whether or not there is any problem with the color, and 2, what types of the problem are they? previously, you can only know is there a problem. If it's green, that's okay. If it's other than green, something to review. But now, for the service with a stopwatch icon indicates that the service has latency or response time issue. The service with both, the service with the warning icon indicates that the service has error. And lastly, service with both indicates it suffers both slowness and errors. So that's it for the presentation. I'll quickly show you, how it looks like in the demo setting. Let me change my screen. Okay, let me try this. Okay. So for people who are not so familiar with Service Graph, you can go to Access Service Graph under Application. And today we have a different view, a global with apps and microservices. But we are on the effort to consolidate all the views so that we make sure you have one single holistic view, and you can always drill down or zoom in to the portion that you're interested. And so just to kind of have some mouse over, right? Like you see all the animation that we put. So first of all, let's go to the grid view. So how to get there? You will see that these two little icons on the right top show service graph view and the Tableau view. So click on the Tableau view and you will see that. So as mentioned, by default it's sorted by hits. But you can always sort it by response time and number of errors and others. And if you click this corner on this little tooling icon, you can, add, let's say, namespace and protocol information to the Tableau view, and what it show here. I need to zoom out to give you the whole complete picture. And let's say, okay, I'm no longer interested. I'm not interested in the namespace. Let me just move it out. So spark lines, we see a pretty similar pattern, across the service. But if we see, some patterns is out of whack, then we can always go back to the service and drill down. Service to service, as I mentioned, it's always a coming pair. So if we sort by hits, again, we see Netflix front end and recommendation engine always have the most hits. And again, you can always add and remove a field from there, and you can sort things. Okay, so that's one. And the thickness, gives you the idea, the distribution of the request volume. So in this case, we see a little bit more recommendation engine than the movie. Lastly, the icon, right? I think now the icon is very well recognized. So for example, for the recommendation engine, we see it suffers both response time and hits. And it's, when we talk about an anomaly, we're not only talking about what what you set, but also what we kind of, detected from the historical trend and pattern, and call out the anomalies that is out of the range. So you can view all those details in the key metrics, right? So that's a short demo, and I'll pass the ball back to Sid. Can we run a quick poll about the service graph?
Sure, Kristen.
Thank you. Yeah, I think we can close the poll and back to you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Crystal. Thanks for that nice demo. Okay, we have now reached the fag end of the webinar. I just want to touch upon our points of presence. So as I spoke, we have globally 11 points of presence across 3 regions. And in US, we have POPs in North Virginia, Ohio, Oregon, and recently we've introduced North California. EMEA, I think 2020 we had introduced Frankfurt, and then recently we introduced London. APJ 2020 we introduced Sydney, and recently we introduced Singapore. So this list is expanding and we'll be adding more and more points of presence across regions. And then I'll talk about a AI/ML solution brief which we launched recently. So this solution brief talks about all the different ML and AI based use cases that ADM caters to and ADM service caters to, because these are all only available on ADM service. So the first one is about server response time anomaly, and then there is ML use cases for app usage deviation using machine learning to highlight any kind of usage deviation, app security and anomaly detection. As I spoke, we have a lot of ML based indicators when it comes to application security, be it account takeover or high, unusually high upload and download volume, and more such indicators. And then predictive resource prediction on your ADC, CPU, and memory usages. So I'll paste the link to this solution brief. Do give it a read. It talks in great details about what use cases we are solving, what algorithms are we using, and how does it look like when it comes to the visualization on ADM service. And then we had 2 white papers published. One is a IDC white paper, and then the other one is about ESG. So IDC and Citrix they jointly talk at length about some of the needs and benefits of a cloud delivered service, as we speak about hybrid and multi-cloud and a cloud native kind of environment, and what are some of the benefits of having an application delivery management service available, some of the key features so of ADM service, be it app usage insights or app and network security insights that ADM service caters to, comprehensive certificate management from creating CSR, issuing, installing certificates, being compliant to the enterprise SSL policies, those kind of things, and ML and AI driven insights. And then the white paper concludes with some of the challenges and opportunities ahead in app delivery in hybrid multi-cloud. The ESG white paper talks about the digital disruptions which is happening across the different industries, and how companies can bring about operational efficiencies in a distributed environment when you have apps across hybrid multi-cloud and being delivered from the edge. And so what are the challenges of application delivery controller, and how a modern day solution like ADM service mitigates those challenges. So that's all we wanted to cover for this month's webinar. Stay tuned for more updates in next month's webinar. Mostly, I think we'll be covering the recent Venafi integration in next month's webinar. So till then, stay tuned. I'll just have a quick look if there are more questions. Let me quickly point you to the solution brief. So that's all we had in this month's webinar. Thank you for joining, and we'll meet you in next month's webinar.